So often it feels like the Trump administration is laughing at us as they commit their crimes and cover them up in public. They think if they show off just how little they care about the law, they'll get away with it, and a lot of times they have. But today they didn't, because J.D. Vance's text revealed that a plot of his has blown up in his face, and it's part of a broader plot by this Trump administration to control what you see and what you don't. Today they failed, but we have to talk about stopping them fully. We're going to get into it all. But first, if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already, it really helps support our work. Now, before we get into these leaked texts and what it means for Trump's broader plot to control everything you see, I want to start with what J.D. Vance said at a Breitbart conference today about how Donald Trump isn't a violent guy.
And he just, he's a tough guy, but he's not a violent human. Like he's not a person, who I think understands violence at a sort of fundamental level. It's like, why don't you stop killing each other and start trading with one another? Why, rather than Russia and Ukraine killing one another, why don't they actually engage in some commerce with one another, travel between the two countries, engage in some sort of cultural exchange? That is his fundamental perspective that he takes into these things. And fundamentally, if we get more peace in the world, it's good for American workers, it's good for the American people, and the president's going to keep on pursuing peace. He's done very well so far, but he's going to keep on working at it.
Yes.
Vance wants to say that the guy who called for Democrats to be hung this morning isn't violent. Yeah, I'm not buying that. And I'm also not buying what J.D. Vance had to say here about Trump's struggling economy. Play the clip.
It took a deliberate 4-year administration that was making life harder for everyday Americans, that was importing foreign workers instead of giving jobs to American workers, that was over-regulating, overtaxing, overspending. They were doing everything wrong. And as much progress as we've made, it's going to take a little bit of time for every American to feel that economic boom, which we really do believe is coming. We believe that we're on the front end of it, but we also recognize that we've got a lot of work to do to undo the damage that Joe Biden did to the American economy. And the last one I'll say, Matt, is let's be honest, it's not just Joe Biden. As much as I think Joe Biden was one of the most disastrous presidents of American history, we had a policy in this country for 40 years of shipping American jobs overseas and hiring foreign workers instead of American workers. That has caused the economic stagnation of the American middle class.
So J.D. wants us all to be patient, and it's important to realize why he feels so comfortable making that outlandish claim. Why J.D. Vance feels comfortable saying, well, the economy is getting better. It was all Biden. Things are actually good. Don't believe your lying eyes. It's because MAGA has such a stranglehold on the media. It's not just Fox or the fact that the biggest podcasts, with the exception of Midas Touch, of course, are all right-wingers. I'm talking Candace Owens, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, feeding you regime talking points. But Donald Trump continues to allow and expects his billionaire buddies to be buying up corporate media and controlling what you're seeing. Here's what Greg Kassar said about it. And it's important to note before we get into Vance's texts.
Far too many billionaires and corporate-owned media companies are bending the knee. Disney and ABC, Paramount and CBS, the Washington Post editorial board, Facebook. Let's be clear. The ultra-wealthy men who run these companies are making a choice. David Ellison, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Bob Iger. These men are enriching themselves, auctioning off the United States' First Amendment to a wannabe tyrant.
Why independent media is so important right now isn't just because Trump is trying to control corporate media, but because corporate media is going along with Trump. Whether it's because these rich guys like another rich guy in the Oval Office, or they've always been embarrassed of their actual political ideologies, which is this kind of techno-fascist weird guy state where the fake smart people like Mark Zuckerberg run things. Yeah, no one wants Peter Thiel in charge, but they're happy to go along, and Trump is happy to make it. Pretty public how much he's sticking his hand in to control everything. And that's what J.D. Vance exposed about his own texts with Jeff Bezos regarding the Washington Post today. But this time, for Vance, it didn't go well. Get this headline. Vance urged Bezos to make the Washington Post even more MAGA. J.D. Vance texted Amazon founder Jeff Bezos demanding that he hire a right-wing journalist to run the Washington Post political team. The vice president said on Thursday that he urged Bezos to offer the Post's top political job to Breitbart's White House bureau chief, Matthew Boyle. Bezos, who bought the Post in 2013, didn't take Vance up on the suggestion, but has continued to move the venerable publication's political outlook further to the right. By the way, Vance was reportedly not invited to the funeral of former Vice President Cheney, which is why he was speaking today at a Breitbart conference. So it was exposed that J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, had texted Jeff Bezos, who runs one of the, I was going to say formerly most respected papers in the country, telling him who should be running their political coverage because it was his buddy. Now, if these texts had just leaked on their own from some journalist obtaining them, I think this would be a bigger story. But the problem with the leak is that it came from J.D. Vance. He leaked and exposed his own text saying that he did this, saying that the sitting vice president told the head of a newspaper how to run his paper, to hire his buddy, to more kindly cover the White House. When I started this video by saying that they are laughing at us, this is what I mean. They are happy to do this in public. They are happy to let us know what is happening behind the scenes, and that is corporate control of the media to serve the regime. Why do you think Jimmy Kimmel was kicked off air? That was a statement Trump was making. Why is Stephen Colbert losing his show? Well, it's because of the Ellisons. David Ellison, who runs Skydance, which was merged with Paramount, is the son of Larry Ellison, who's one of the richest men in the country. Few people have heard of him to the degree of an Elon Musk, but he's ready to merge all of his media assets into a giant conglomerate that would contain Warner Brothers, so HBO, of course Warner, CNN, and then bring that alongside what they already have with Paramount, CBS, their extensive media empire. All at the same time as he's prepared to be part of any group that's buying TikTok. That is the control of the media that they want to have. And why? Why is Trump encouraging it? Why is he pushing for it? Because J.D. Vance can tell Jeff Bezos who to hire. Now, of course, this didn't work, hence their plot kind of blowing up in his face. But net-net, yeah, of course, there has been a rightward shift. Just because J.D. failed to get one buddy in charge at one paper doesn't mean that the shift of the corporate media hasn't been so far to the right. It is almost unbelievable. It is staggering how quickly these guys have capitulated, and of course they have. Of course they have. But this is the Trump administration. It is levels of corruption that we have never seen before, so much so that we usually just gloss over them. But Senator Chris Murphy did not want that to happen, and that is why this breakdown is so important. Listen to this.
So you probably saw that Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, visited the White House yesterday. You might have seen this insane clip.
He's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
That's essentially the President of the United States excusing the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. Mohammed bin Salman murdered this journalist who was living in the United States at the time, cut him into pieces, and ended up not getting away with it. But Trump is trying to help him get away with it. But what you really need to know is that the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia is not about our national security at all. It's not about human rights. It's not about protecting democracy. It's just about making Trump rich. The relationship between Saudi Arabia and Donald Trump is a two-way transaction in which the Saudis get national security favors from the United States, and Donald Trump gets rich in return by the Saudis making investments in his companies and cutting him in on lucrative deals. In Donald Trump's second term, this White House has been willing to do things for Saudi Arabia that no president in the past has ever been willing to do. For example, Donald Trump is going to sell Saudi Arabia our most sensitive aerial technology, the F-35 fighter jet. He's willing to send our most sensitive AI chips to Saudi Arabia, something that we do not do except under the most exceptional circumstances.
That's essentially the President of the United States excusing the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. Mohammed bin Salman murdered this journalist who was living in the United States at the time, cut him into pieces, and ended up not getting away with it. But Trump is trying to help him get away with it. We cannot continue to just brush over these stories like it's business as usual. I know that's what Trump wants. And he's again running the corporate media so that we do just brush over them. But we can't allow that to happen. We have to understand just how deeply ingrained in his administration the corruption is. The corruption is the administration. It's what it's about. Trump's not even serving the billionaire class anymore. He's serving a select group of billionaires who stand to profit right now off of the greatest explosion in wealth inequality coming from the AI boom, threatening to end tens of millions of American jobs while about 9 guys get unbelievably wealthy. And Bernie Sanders broke it all down. Take a look at this.
You know, I know, presumably everybody knows, no great secret, that Musk and Bezos and Ellison and Altman and others are putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars into AI and robotics, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, does anybody really believe that these guys are doing it in order to improve life for the average American?
0 people believe that. Statistically.
It's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
I was at Davenport, Iowa.
Those 4 guys don't even believe it.
I was at Davenport, Iowa a couple of months ago. And we had a few thousand people out at a rally. So I said, what I just said. Now they're putting all this money. Raise your hand. There's thousands of people there. Raise your hand if you think AI and robotics is going to help the working class of this country. In a room of several thousand people, 2 hands went up.
If you'd not yet seen this headline, I hate to ruin your day with it. But I guess that's kind of what I do on this show every once in a while. And I'm sorry about that, but we need to face the truth. Pam Bondi and the DOJ are prepared to sue states going forward with their own AI regulations. Yes, regulating AI to not be predatory against children, to not destroy our climate by wasting energy at levels not even imaginable before. The DOJ is prepared to sue. That is how far Donald Trump will go to defend billionaires. And we've got to call that out. We are certainly going to on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you.